Hey everyone, Dr. Laura Neville here. So I wanted to talk to you today about how to get healthy in a super simple way. So there's a lot of supplements out there that are amazing, but if you feel overwhelmed, you feel like you need something now and you don't have access to, a whole slew of things, you can do a lot with water and some basic nasal rinsing, which I'm going to tell you about. So I am bringing this up right now because here in the Pacific Northwest, we are under haze and smoke from wildfires, and it's super serious. My heart goes out to everyone who has lost their homes, and really, even if you haven't lost your home, you're sitting in a thick cloud of smoke, basically all up and down the West Coast. So it feels like the apocalypse, and important to mention too that smoke will make you feel very anxious. Smoke is a neurotoxin. It's trying to get you away from whatever is causing it. And so it's very common to feel anxious, to feel kind of like suffocated, and claustrophobic, like you want to just escape and go somewhere. The problem is for us in the Pacific Northwest, there's not a lot of places to go right now. So I wanted to give you some tools that you likely already have at home, and you can just access these right away. So remember that water is the strongest mucolytic that we know of to date. So mucolytic just means it's going to thin the mucus. There's a lot of drugs and over-the-counter medications that will do that if you're having thick congestion and you have allergies on top of the smoke issue. Those are often marketed to fix that for you, but we overlook the fact that water and hydration is the most effective thing you could do to thin your mucus. When it gets all stagnant in here and you start feeling earaches, you start feeling swollen glands, your nose is all clogged, all of that. You want the mucus to be thinned so that the body can distribute that and pull that out and detoxify what it's trying to do in the first place. If that doesn't happen and it's too thick in there, sinus infections start, okay? So we don't want that. Viruses love the nasal passage. They love to replicate there. And so keeping that moving and thin and hydrated can prevent and treat viruses once they're on board. The common cold, other viruses. Okay. This is just a more fancy version of a neti pot. You've probably heard of a neti pot, and it's for nasal rinsing. This puppy saved me from sinus surgery years back. So I have a tendency to start getting really bad allergies under stress, and one point in medical school, it was so bad that they were basically telling me that I should get sinus surgery. Trick with that is sinus surgery is only helpful. So if it's due to a structural abnormality, of course, it's going to be helpful to go in and align that up. However, if your sinus problems and chronic sinusitis is due to allergies, irrigating out that, opening it up, allows for more surface area for you to continue and even have worse issues with sinus problems. So I recognized that, knew that probably wasn't the best answer for me, and I found this. I had a neti pot for years, and for some reason I just couldn't get myself to use it, but for some reason when I got this guy, I used it. So this is what I recommend. It's my personal preference. I don't get a kickback from this company. It's just my personal preference, so I'm sharing that with you. I like this one because, first of all, it's cuter, right? It is easier to use, I find. It's easier to rinse. And it has this kind of positive pressure where you can squeeze the tube and it actually works better than, trying to do this thing, tilt your head all crazy with the neti pot. So with this one, basically this is an 8-ounce size. You want to fill clean water, you guys, clean water. There have been a couple instances where people have died from using contaminated water. They stick that into their nasal passage, which is right near the brain, and bacteria went into the brain and they died. So no joke, you have to use boiled water, filtered water, distilled water, sterilized. Sterilized is probably the best way to go, okay? So 8 ounces of water in this one would require 2 of those salt packets that you find. This company actually makes their own salt packets, which I like because they are cleaner than the ones you find in the grocery store. They don't have any additives or anti-caking agents in there. It's basically just clean sodium bicarb. You want to make sure that you're not just using salt in these. It's going to burn the crap out of your nose, it's going to hurt, and it's actually going to inflame your nasal passage even more, okay? So 2 salt packets per 8 ounces of water is what you need. That creates what we call a hypertonic solution, and that's super important. So clean water, the tonicity of the water matters, and the acidity of the water matters, okay? So that's why you don't use just plain salt. You may get the right tonicity, but it's going to be acidic, and it's going to burn your mucous membranes. When we talk about tonicity, that is basically the salt concentration. How thick is the salt? You want to make sure you're using either an isotonic, and even better, a hypertonic solution, meaning more salt in this substance than what's in your normal cells, which is 0.9%. Okay, when there's more salt, remember from science class in high school, the water will move towards the more concentrated area. So when your mucous membranes are inflamed, they're puffy, they're swollen, you put in more salt in this, you're going to draw fluid out of the membranes, shrink the membranes, soothe and lessen the inflammation, and then cause the debris to be able to move out of your body. The cilia work better. You have these little fine hairs all over the nasal passage. They get clogged up and they can't move the snot out, right? It just gets stuck there. And so bringing this salt in will help to thin the mucus, shrink the membrane, soothe the passageways and the tissue, and prevent any issues, any residual issues. Just think about it. We wash our hands all the time. Why are we not doing the same with our nose? Our nose is a major filtration system for everything that we do in life. We breathe on a day-to-day basis through that passageway, and the nose has a lot to take care of and to handle. And so this is just giving it a little bit of a boost. It's just like washing your hands. You're going to flush out the majority of the larger particles that the body's having to deal with, and the body has so much less to fight against and to detoxify from the body just from the get-go, just by doing that. Same thing as washing your hands, okay? So remember, drink lots of water. At least half your body weight in ounces is typically what we recommend. That does not hold true for anyone with congestive heart failure or kidney issues, but for the rest of us, that's a pretty good way to go. So say you weigh 100 pounds, it's basically 50 ounces or a day is the bare minimum of what you should be bringing in. That's going to keep you hydrated. And then this one, I should say the name of this. It's called Naso Pure. Okay, so this is basically like a better neti pot, in my opinion. There are 4-ounce sizes. This company provides, and also 8 ounces. So you want to make sure, again, clean water, hypertonic solution, if you can take that. Some people who have really sensitive membranes have to start with isotonic and then move up to the hypertonic. If you have a hypotonic solution, meaning less salt in here, some people are afraid of the salt. They think that's what burns. So they'll go really just like a little bit and then mostly water. That actually inflames the membranes even more. It irritates them anymore and it burns way more, okay? You should be using this at least once a day. If you are in the Pacific Northwest or on the West Coast, anywhere, and you've got wildfires just going crazy on you, I would do this up to 4 times a day, honestly. You can do it as much as you need to do. So here's the deal. This company has these like really nice lines on the product, so it's going to tell you the angle at which you should be holding it. A lot of people think you have to like squirt this like somehow up the nose this direction. You don't need to do also like the neti pot where you're tilting your head so much, but basically you're going straight back towards the back of the head, and the lines are going to show you where the water lines up. You can't see it really well on, oh there you can see it, see? It's going to show you the angle. So with this, you basically just pop this tube open, you make sure this bottle is clean. This can be thrown in the top cart of the dishwasher, and you go straight back, squeeze it. I'm not going to show you, you don't need to see my snot from the Pacific Northwest fires, but this goes back, it should come out the other side, and then you do that on the other side, okay? And then don't be surprised if your nasal passages kind of like explode excess snot for a good 10 minutes afterwards. You may be like, okay, you got everything else, you walk down the hall and some more comes out, right? That's just telling you it's rinsing things out, it's cleaning out your sinus passages, okay? I hope that was helpful. Everyone stay well up there. Use clean, sterilized water. Okay, bye.